So thank you everybody for joining us. This is the session on kinesiology, exercise science, sports medicine. Specifically, we're going to be talking about programming in Australia. But before we get there, I would like to introduce ourselves. And Lily, if you go to the next slide, that'll be great. We've been doing programming in Australia, New Zealand, and Southeast Asia for 25 plus years. We have 70 different programs, which encompass full semester programs, summer study abroad programs. And we have some really great options for students who are looking for the short term, maybe 3-week program in sports psychology, exercise science, public health, etc. But today's focus will really be on the 8-week internship, as well as what we refer to as the study abroad and internship combination program. Because we've been doing this for 25 plus years, we really proudly boast that we have lots of expertise in the area. We have tons of knowledge with all the staff who have either studied or interned or visited many of these destinations, or, as we just heard, professional development opportunities for our staff to go visit. And all of that advising really starts from the moment you apply. And even today, just feeling like you're getting information that's going to be useful as you are starting to do some research, everything from the types of placements and what you need, and how to prepare, and the orientation information, and how you secure your student visa for going overseas for this. So you'll have 24/7 access to our staff. You'll start by applying to our program, and the team in Chicago will reach out to you. But then ultimately, when you go overseas, we have a dedicated staff who work exclusively for TEAN, who are there to guide you and to help with any adjustment or transitions, or if you're having some challenges in your internship, etc. And when we think about value, these are really great industry placements. There is a set program fee, and that fee includes, well, the internship, this really great 4-day orientation in the Great Barrier Reef, all of your accommodation is included, and much more. And when we click to the next slide, I just have you be prepared to possibly lower your volume. Sometimes this comes up quite loudly. So just a 1-minute video. And I think this illustrates quite well who we are and what we do with students overseas.
Studying marine biology along the Great Barrier Reef. Diving deep into the colorful culture of northern Thailand. Trekking through New Zealand's stunning natural beauty. Practicing your Mandarin while eating dim sum in Shanghai. There is nothing like living and learning in another culture. The people you meet, the knowledge you gain, the adventures you remember the rest of your life. It may seem like a dream, but studying abroad is easier than you think with the Education Abroad Network, or TEAN. With more than 20 years of welcoming students to Asia Pacific and dedicated on-the-ground staff, we're experts at what we do and have strong partnerships with more than 30 leading universities throughout the region. We support students from start to finish on their study abroad journey. With TEAN, while you're away from home, you're never alone. Whether you're seeking summer or semester-long study, professional internship, or even a full degree, there is a TEAN program suited to your schedule, studies, and lifestyle. Ready to get started? Visit our website at teenabroad.org.
I really love that video. I think it gives a good general overview of kind of all things TEAN. And obviously we're talking about some specific programs today, but it's a good place to start. Dan, I'll take this slide if you don't mind.
Great.
Cool. So something that we like to highlight here at TEAN is stuff that we're obviously all about. So we're really into creating immersive experiences for students. Obviously you want that in a study abroad program, but we're also really conscious about making them environmentally, socially, and culturally responsible. So one of our core values here at TEAN is called Choose Earth, and it's really centered around those 3 ideals. And actually on any TEAN program, you can complete a Choose Earth certificate for the duration of your program, which is a nice add-on for students, especially if you have an interest in environmental sustainability or social justice or any kind of field relating to that. So obviously within all that, we really are about supporting inclusive opportunities for students of any background. So that's really a part of our ethos. And then obviously with study abroad, we want to cultivate cultural awareness and tolerance, not just among our students though, but with our staff as well in the international community. We do a lot of workshops and actually just led a presentation on being an ally yesterday. So we're really conscious about doing that internally as well as for our students. It's a big component of everything TEAN. So chatting about health and safety, since this is really pertinent right now, obviously with coronavirus and the global pandemic, your well-being as students is our #1 priority. We have a lot of ways that we take care of this for students, and we've listed some here. So obviously partnering with credible, inclusive institutions, having that on-site staff that Dan mentioned available to you for anything that comes up. Any orientation will include an on-site safety orientation as well. We seriously vet our housing options as well, so they're always safe and secure. We provide insurance for all of our students. Even if you already have your insurance, you get double from us, usually because it's required for a visa, but it doesn't hurt. And then we have a really robust health and safety team that monitors all of our locations, domestic and worldwide, to make sure that our students are in a safe location and are comfortable. So chatting about the types of programs that we offer, and obviously we're going to touch more on a specific program type today, but just so you know, we do have semester, summer, and winter. We do full-time internships as well as study and intern at the same time. So that would be like a part-time internship alongside your coursework, which we're really going to touch on today. And with all of those, you get that personalized step-by-step guidance from start to finish. I previously worked on our programs team with our students going to New Zealand and China, and it's amazing because I still have some of my students' full names memorized as well as their email addresses. So we're really hands-on and intentional about giving you that kind of one-on-one support, which I feel like I kind of missed out when I studied abroad. I didn't have that as much, and it would have really helped not only me, but also my family feel, and my friends feel a little bit more comfortable too. Dan, you want to do scholarships, or should I take this one too?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So there's a lot of different scholarship opportunities available. We have what we call the TEAN scholarship, and that is within 3 categories, and you see them listed here. It's the need-based scholarship, merit-based scholarship, and diversity scholarship. So it's one application for TEAN scholarships. You can apply in 1, 2, or all 3 categories, whatever works best for you. And you can actually apply for scholarships before you apply to the program. So that can be really beneficial. I know that was another one that would have really helped me when I was going abroad, knowing what kind of funding I was going to receive before I applied for a program. Now, within those applications, if you apply before the full ride deadline, you are automatically considered for our annual TEAN full ride scholarship. That usually comes up about fall every year, and the date is pretty consistent. So even if you're thinking 2022, 2023 down the line, you can plan out now when that scholarship application is due. Any university-specific scholarships that we have available to students, you're automatically considered for. The only thing that you would need to do an additional application for is our photography scholarship, and that's just because we need a portfolio. And we've had students who are photography majors to somebody with an iPhone win that. So don't count yourself out if you're not a professional photographer. It's open to all students. So also speaking about the cancellation policy, because of COVID right now, if we do need to cancel a program before the start date, students have the option to do one of these 3 available to them. So you can receive a full refund, including all of your deposits. You can consider an alternative TEAN program that would still be running, and you'll use all your existing paid fees. If you pay too much, you get a refund, or we bill you for anything extra. You know, there's options available. And then the last one is attending your preferred program, so your original intended program at a later term for no additional cost, which can be really nice for students.
And just to
Then,
add, and sorry, Lily, I just wanted to add to that, we do have a full confidence that we will be running programs in Australia, perhaps as soon as this summer, coming up, summer 2021. There's a trial happening right now within Australia, bringing international students in and directing them up to one specific university, and that has everything to do with, pre-arrival COVID testing to on-site COVID testing to quarantining for a certain duration. So just, putting that out there now that we take all of the information that we're getting both here in the US and then obviously within Australia. So we're making very informed decisions about your health and safety and ultimately the status of the program. We've got a map here of Australia just because we never want to assume that students know different cities or well, even the size or shape of the country. It's roughly the size of the US in terms of land mass. They only have about 25, 26 million people as opposed to 330 plus million here. Of that 25 million, 20, 22 million or so live along the coasts in the bigger cities of like Sydney with 5.5 million people, Melbourne like 4.5 million, Perth has close to 2 million people there. There's other bigger cities like the Gold Coast, a lot of people have heard of, or Brisbane, many others, but just wanted to give you a little reference point. The programs that we're talking about today are based in Perth, Western Australia. There's a specific reason for that. Doesn't mean that placements are not available in other sites, but in terms of group placements for the kines and exercise sports medicine students, we have found that our access to placement opportunities are much greater here and provide much more deeper experiences for students. And we'll get into reasons just upcoming here in another slide or two. I do want to just give you a little idea about Perth, Australia, because people have heard of Sydney, they've heard of Melbourne, and maybe not necessarily Perth, but it is a really fantastic city. There's just some images here off to the right-hand side of the screen. It's quite large, so if you come from a smaller city or town, this is certainly a bright lights, big city feel. Even if you're from say like Orlando, Miami, Charlotte, LA, New York. I mean, this is a very good sized city. So it's not going to feel too small, even if you're from one of those larger, metropolis areas. The reason why, one of the primary reasons why we have students going here is because for its sports, culture and tourism industry, there are several major sporting venues and teams that we've been able to tap into for our placements. We also like that it's just a really short getaway to some destinations throughout Asia. If you're interning for an 8-week option, or you're doing a semester abroad, you're going to want to travel throughout, mostly probably throughout Australia or other destinations in the South Pacific. But we hope that you use that opportunity to maybe go to Asia. There's some really inexpensive flights. It's not very long. In fact, it may take you just as long to go from Perth to Sydney as maybe it takes you to go from Perth to perhaps Singapore or some of those other really great destinations. We also like it because there is a much lower cost of living for students. I referenced the value part of it. It is one program fee that we think is really well priced, but in terms of like socializing and going out and enjoying the city, it's going to be a lot less expensive there than say the Gold Coast or Sydney, which has just higher rents, which then gets passed on to higher food costs, to higher beverage costs, etc. Same thing with retail, but this is a great place. And if you want to get out, and we hope you do, to enjoy like the surf, the reef, and explore some of these really great wineries that they have out there. It's a perfect location. The weather is fantastic. You have really close access to some Aboriginal communities, which is really great. And also, let's talk about the weather, right? It's like fantastic. You'd be doing your internship in May, June, or July, so you can see those average temperatures. it's just quite perfect for interns, particularly those that are working in the sport and kinesiology industries, because, well, they're out playing sports, and it's just a really busy internship time. And so it's nice to be doing some of this in some nice weather. Just one point to remember is that they are in the Southern Hemisphere. So while we're just moving into our winter months of December and January and February, it's also December, January, and February for them, but they're heading into their summer months. So the seasons are opposite there. Just like to point that out. Let's talk about some of the program details. This is Nina Friedman, who was with us last year from the James Madison University group. She was placed with the West Perth Football Club. These are 8-week internships, roughly 32 hours a week, give or take, a few hours here or there. Really is going to depend on your internship schedule. When most of our students are working in with sporting clubs, football teams, or really rugby, Australian rules football. And so you will be likely having games on the weekends like we have here. So you might be interning, a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then you have Monday for some of your academic assignments, and maybe you have a Tuesday and Wednesday off. That changes and fluctuates obviously throughout the season and throughout your internship, but it's very specific to your actual placement. But I think that gives you a good guideline. These are all customized placements. And while I generically say, athletic clubs, sporting industry placements, we are going to take your information and customize the placement to your needs. So I know we have some kinesiology and exercise science students here. We've placed students who are looking to get into nursing or PT or other areas of medicine and health sciences. And that's fine, no problem at all. Dietetics and nutrition, that's great too. So we do customize your placements, even though they may be in 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 different sort of placement areas. Your actual placement is going to be as customized as possible. You'll have this teen orientation. If we have some time at the end of the presentation, we'll go out to the website and take a look. But if you're not familiar with CANS Australia, that's CAIRNS, CANS Australia, that is the northeast quadrant or section of Australia. It's where the Great Barrier Reef is. That is your first week in the country of Australia. Obviously, you'll be doing some health and safety information while you're there, some placement etiquette, some do's and don'ts, take you out to the Great Barrier Reef, do the koala and kangaroo like on day 2. Just a lot of really great experience for students to get acclimated and adjusted to life in Australia and your new time zone and crossing the international date line. And it takes a good week for our minds and our bodies to get adjusted to all of that. You're going to have your housing, which is included, in various cultural events throughout the duration of your program, whether that be for a semester or that be the international internship experience. And some of those examples might be, going to the wildlife sanctuary, maybe having a group meal, maybe there's a really cool concert happening. It could be any number of activities. It could be a beach day, a learn to surf, etc. So all of those are included in the program fee. There is a little note here about the academic credit to be determined by UCF. And so that's just sort of a safety sort of check-in for you all to make sure that you're meeting with the right academic advisors, meeting with UCF Global to understand what it is that you need to do to earn that credit and bring it back towards your degree program. So we'll talk just a little bit. I want to mention the support. This gentleman that's on the far left side of the screen, his name is Sean Lennon. He's one of the co-founders of our company. He is based and lives in Perth and has been there for I guess, a couple of decades. He has raised his family there. He has two late teens, big sports guys. They play rugby, Australian rules football, and some other sports. So he's there. He is really the go-to guy for sports placements in Australia. He has a deep connection to the sporting industry. His dad was the athletic director for Notre Dame for many years. He's a graduate of Notre Dame. So is the other co-founder of our organization. Sean's brother is the number 3 or number 2 guy in the NCAA. So he's very well connected. And we've been running lots of sports types programs, including the sports med, exercise science programs there. So he's there. We also have some other staff that'll be there throughout the program for you. And I just wanted to sort of highlight that to show how important it is that we have you in a place where we have the staff and with someone who's so well connected to the industry there. I mentioned the custom placement, so we'll just kind of scroll through this slide, if you don't mind, and we'll get in right to a really great example of the kinesiology placements. This is Heather. She was with the Claremont Tigers footy team, football, they refer to it as footy, as a little image of the training room there. One of the placement sites that we have, and this is the one I like to refer to most because it does offer the most breadth and depth of placement opportunities for us. It's referred to as Sports Medicine Australia. It is the most well-known sporting association related to sports medicine within Australia and certainly throughout Southeast Asia. We have some other sort of industry-like organizations here in the US, but out of Australia, this is the main one. These folks do all of the sports medicine, sports science, injury prevention, working through disease, nutrition, dietetics. They're pretty much contracted out by the various professional sporting industries to look after their athletes and to do all those various, I guess, work that, the various work that needs to be done with the players. So you're going to be trained by them. You're going to go through a couple of days of, I guess it's sort of like, how you have to have your CPR certification here in the US to really work in the healthcare industry. Well, in Australia and related to sports medicine, you go through a certain type of program that gets you the certification or the qualification, and that's included in the program as well. Just think of it as like injury management, taping, icing, a lot of the things that you're already learning there in the classroom, but this is a more formalized process and just gives you the certification to then work with the group in the Australian Football League. Some of the placement activities or actual descriptions of your intern are included there in the last few bullet points. So, it's taping and bracing, massaging both pre and after competitions and during training, obviously first aid and wound care, aid players in rehab and screening. I mentioned the dietetics and nutrition. You're going to be working alongside these athletes on game days. So, when we see all the, the folks running out on the field to, for hydration, for, quick taping, to pull athletes off the field in case of injury. And that's just, 5 or 6 different examples of some of the activities that you will be doing. Obviously, as I mentioned, with a customized component to this, we're going to want to get some information out of you, like, what are you looking for? Where are some skills that you would like to improve? Do you have any skills you're bringing with you? And if you don't, that's fine. That's the whole intent of an internship. But if you've had background in some of this, what internship have you done? What are some of the skills that you gained, or what do you wish you had learned more during that time? So we take all that into consideration before we make your placement. We love this Sports Medicine Australia placement. It's given some really awesome experiences for our students, and the feedback has just been incredible. So that's one example of many. This is another here for more of like your sport and recreation management type students. And this is really about working with the teams and getting their brand out into the community and throughout Australia and the rest of the world. So it's really heavily focused on like communications and outreach and marketing and event planning and a whole range of other opportunities for students. So, you know, some students are coming in because they want sort of that medical or medicine experience. Others are coming in because they know they want to work in the sport and recreation industry. And this just gives us another opportunity to provide those placements. So again, just two really great experiences and internship placements that we have for students. And again, full-time, 32+ hours a week. And many more examples that we can share with you by email. If you write to Lily and I, we can work with the internship team and get you some other examples. But I like to start there. And I also like to mention that women's Australian rules football is one of the fastest growing sports in Australia. So it is it's a very popular game to play. Australian rules football, rugby, they're different, but I like to refer to them all as basically the same type of sport. But I know they're quite different from one another. But the injuries are very similar to what we have here with American football, with tennis, with elbows and wrist injuries, with knees and ankles, with backs, bruising, again, the nutrition and fitness component to it. So I think that's some of why we're getting some of this great feedback from not only the participants of the internship, but also their faculty members on various campuses, because these students are getting really great practical experience and experiences that for various reasons, we're not able to provide to students often here in the US. And some of that is just sort of restrictions on how much patient touching we can have here in the US. But going through that initial certification and training that I mentioned to you earlier, you're going to be working alongside physiotherapists or physical therapists, sports doctors, dietitians, nutritionists, etc. So you'll be under the guidance of professionals. We're not just going to, throw you into the training room and say, take this player up. So you'll be well taken care of. I do want to transition to the other program that we referred to, or Lily did in her opening, which is the hybrid program. There's a couple of different terms. We use hybrid. We also use study abroad, internship combination program. And as you see here, you'll be taking courses at a university during your semester. And while you're there, you'll also be taking on an internship as part of your semester abroad. And this is really great for students who may just have one opportunity to go overseas, and it can only be in one certain semester, but you'd really love to have a little bit of an internship experience. I think this checks the boxes for all students. Again, very similar placements, almost identical to what we were referring to earlier in the traditional 8-week internship program. But because you're based at a university, you have access to faculty and top-end facilities there, as you can see here in the exercise research and training room at the University of Western Australia. So you'll be having access to the latest and greatest, just like there at UCF, have the latest and greatest technology and research being done. So again, just another type of program that meets your academic interests, but also your interest of having an internship experience. The other program that we have is very similar to one I just mentioned, but this is more of the research component. So if you're interested in research and going on to medical say like a medical college, right? So you want to go be a doctor, or you want to be a physical therapist, or get a PhD in nutrition or dietetics. This might be a really great program for you to consider, because you'll be doing your semester study abroad. You'll be taking 2 or 3 subjects. This is at Murdoch University. It's also in Western Australia, but you're going to be looking at research related to kinesiology, sports science, sports medicine. And I just love what this student image is here. Obviously, they're looking at breathing and heart rate and other functions of physiology and anatomy there. But the list is pretty deep in terms of the subject variety that you have to choose from, as well as the research opportunities in which you can participate. Very similar to the 8-week customized internship. This intern here, as part of the semester program, is done based on your needs, what you're looking to acquire out of the program, obviously with some limitations. We can't offer a research program that's not available, but they do have many research activities that are happening on campus. And again, very well known throughout Australia that Western Australia, Perth as a destination, is quite impressive for any students looking in this area of study. So to get started, Lily, do you want to walk us through the just sort of like the application process, what that looks like, and then we can see if there's any questions.
For sure. So you really consider the type of experience that you want. I know we've touched a lot on the internship components today, and an internship is a great opportunity. I did one when I studied abroad, and it brought a lot of value into my study abroad experience, and that followed me into my career, obviously. But you really need to think about if it's a right fit for you. So if you are wanting to be in a different country every weekend, if you want to like be jet setting all over the place, internships are a lot harder to do that when you're planning to travel a lot. So it's something that you really want to think about and consider before you commit to a program fully. I also want to say that like internships bring a lot of value in the fact of the things that you learn, and you get more immersed in the culture. It sets you apart on your resume. It set me apart on my resume. So there are values to it as well. I don't want it to make it sound like scary. So think about what's going to be the best fit for you. And then you can get help finding the perfect program. So you're definitely going to want to chat to the Study Abroad and Global Education Office at UCF. They are the experts. They're going to know all of the different options available to you. We've got some great ones, but there are some other opportunities out there that may be a better fit for you. And our goal is really just to get all students to go abroad, really. So get help finding the perfect program through us, through UCF. Work with your resources that you have available to you, your academic advisor, things like that. And then our application is online. I believe UCF's is as well. Most are at this point. And you really can't miss it on our website. It's in the upper right-hand corner of every single page of our website. So you won't be able to miss it at all. So then the last thing we always like to say is, what are you waiting for? You can see our social media handle on the left side underneath that line. It's just at TEAN Abroad, TEAN with an N. Some people think it's M. I especially recommend our Instagram if you like travel photography. It is mostly all by all your students, sometimes by staff members. I've been featured once or twice. And then our website right next to that. And then copy down this email right here, studyabroad@ucf.edu. They're really your on campus, your local experts. You want to chat to them first and foremost to get the process started, and they'll be able to get you updates on timelines, where to apply, what options are available to you, and things like this. Anything you need to add, Dan?
Yes, great job on that. If we can minimize the screen and maybe go out to the website, I'd like to show Catherine, Kirsten, and Tori some of the shorter 3-week summer options that we have, particularly the exercise psychology and sports program. Unlike the programs that Lily and I have been discussing today, where it's an 8-week internship and you're in the city of Perth, or you're taking a full semester of study somewhere, these are 3-week programs. And you can see how Lily is just going out to the webpage and going down to programs. There's many ways to get to where we need to go, but we can just drop down and look at the summer programs, for example. So those are yeah, go ahead, Lily.
This is our program finder, and I'll kind of walk you through all the different options available to you, and it allows you to kind of sort by what you're most interested in. In particular, I want to point out the health studies here, but then we also have different majors and things listed here, so you can take a look at all those. But like Dan said, let's start with summer.
Yeah, this will just give us a nice overview of the various summer programs. You'll see some of these maybe have like an academic theme to them. If you're just quickly scrolling, you can see, oh, like religions in Southeast Asia, tourism, hospitality, social impact, etc. Holistic health and wellness, that's always a really great one. But these two here, these contemporary issues in public health, but the sport and exercise psychology, Lily, if you wouldn't mind clicking on that. This is a 3-week travel program. So this kind of checks the box for students who have a short period of time to do this, who want to have a study abroad experience, but also would like to travel during the program. This is titled a Sport and Exercise Psychology course. It's a KIN 323. That may mean nothing for your advisor at UCF, but there is a syllabus with that with this course. And so, you know, if you don't have a course in your degree area that's titled Sport and Exercise Psychology, that doesn't mean you can't do it. Doesn't mean you won't get credit for it. It may just be reworded or have a different number on campus. But we will give you the syllabus, which then you can then submit to your academic advisor and faculty, etc. The two faculty who teach this program are from the United States. You can see a little bit of their bio here. They're both really well versed in both the Australian and US sporting cultures, sports sciences, phys ed, etc. And so I think this does a really great job of embedding all of these various experiences. So what I mean by that is, you saw on the map, we highlighted Melbourne. You saw where Sydney was. We didn't put Gold Coast up there, but Gold Coast is about halfway up between Sydney and Cairns. So it sits right on the Gold Coast. It's where the gold sandy beaches of Australia are. You'll get 3 different destination stops here. You'll start in Melbourne. You'll spend some time there. You'll be visiting the Sporting Hall of Fame. You know, if schedule and weather permitting, you'll take in a professional sport match. Usually, like in Australian rules football, maybe it's cricket, could be soccer or tennis, but there's usually multiple events happening there. Maybe it's a Formula One race car race. I don't know, but it's usually all sports related. Then we take you up to the Gold Coast. This is probably one of the more exciting, I think, stops on the trip for students. You're going to be visiting some really well-known institutions. You're going to be visiting some really great, you know, cultural sites, some areas like the wildlife sanctuary. You're going to be going to visit, you know, a rugby club there. You're going to have opportunities to hear from guest lecturers and athletes. And then from there, we take you up to Cairns, which is the North Tropical part of Australia, where you do all of those previously mentioned orientation activities from earlier in the presentation, the koala, the snorkeling or scuba diving, if you're certified to do scuba diving. Otherwise, it's a snorkeling experience with a marine biologist. It's fantastic. The other really cool feature of this program is during the program, you're going to have an opportunity to do to participate in sport. And we know all students have different interests, different abilities. So we've come up with this list of 4. Most of the students do one of the last 3. The surfing one is always quite popular, but maybe if you're into golf, or if you want to pick up and practice beach volleyball, you're going to have 5 lessons or practices there. And that's really great because you're going to be working alongside, people who are professionals in those areas or instructors in that area. But we know that maybe not all students want to do one of those. So, hey, let's do a gym membership. That's going to be included. So if you don't want to do any of the surfing or golf or beach volleyball, then we'll set you up with a gym membership, and you can go lift some weights or walk some laps or whatever it is that you want to do. But because it's a exercise science and sports psychology program, we do want to keep students moving and experiencing life of sport within Australia. Like all the other programs, your housing is going to be included. Because this is a group program, you'll be with 10, 20, 30, maybe 40 other students from across the US. And so that's a really fun experience as you're meeting, most of you, I think, are from Central Florida or from the state of Florida, but you'll have students from Virginia, from, Pennsylvania, from California, Washington State, Texas. Just a really great program to meet new friends and, potential professional colleagues in the future.
I know a lot of my students have been able to visit each other. They're from all over the place and they stay friends and they go to visit each other, which is so nice. Dan, is there anything else on this specific program page that we should cover, or are there other programs we should take a look at? You're muted.
Thank you. Maybe let's just go back to the
program finder?
Yeah, the summer program page, and we'll look at that other public health program, because I think there's a lot of similarities here for students. And so similar to, it's just right there. There it is. Similar to the sport and exercise psychology travel program, this too is a travel program. This is a 3-week travel program. I should have mentioned that pretty much all of our summer programs require a 2.5 GPA. That's the same thing with internship. And I'm pretty certain it's the same for the 2 hybrid study and internship. It might be 2.7 for one of the institutions. This course here is a public health course. Again, it's taught by professors who are professionals in this industry. As opposed to doing like a sports focus, this is looking at public health. It's looking at indigenous health. It's looking at healthcare policy. It's looking at healthcare interventions. It's looking at pharmaceuticals as opposed to natural treatments and interventions. It's looking at injury prevention and injury healing, just a range of different topics under the broad heading of public health. But again, I think what some of the highlights here, and this one really has a 4-stop element to it. So you'll spend a few days in Brisbane and Byron Bay, which is always quite popular for students. Obviously Sydney, you'll be going there, doing the Opera House visits, maybe going up to Coogee Beach and Bondi and some other really great places to see, Chinatown, etc. And then of course wrapping it up like we did on the other program in Cairns. We think that's a great way to end your program after traveling around throughout Australia. You get the last few days there up in Cairns before you head back. And actually many students like to stay on for a couple of weeks if they can, to travel around or fly up to Asia or maybe hit New Zealand while they're there. But pretty similar in terms of the eligibility. I think this is also a 2.5. Yep, it's a 2.5. Basically sophomore status or higher, which is great. Don't really need any prior experience in any of these academic areas. Of course, if you have some, it helps, but certainly not a requirement. Housing included, etc. I think because there's about 5-10 minutes left, we can open it up to questions. We can go click through a couple of more program sites if you'd like to. Maybe we'll leave it up to Kirsten, Catherine, and Tori to tell us what you'd like to do. But we'd be happy to answer questions if you have any at this time.
And if there are any parts of the website that you'd like to see, we can navigate through them. I think that helps because that's where you guys are going to start your exploration of programs. So happy to do that.
How about the scholarship section then, Lily, since you touched on that? You want to show them where the scholarship section is and then maybe just highlight a couple of those?
Definitely. So This is one of my favorite parts of the website.
Yeah, and while Lily's doing that, if you do want to pop a question into the chat feature, that's fine. There's no pressure. I just want to make sure that while you have us here, you have an opportunity to get a question or two answered. But we're available by email, as you saw in the chat.
So I navigated, if you didn't see it, it's how it works: finance, scholarships. Oh, sometimes these disappear. And then this is really going to be your point of reference for almost everything teen scholarship related. So this is going to run you down those 3 different scholarships that I explained before. This is going to give you a nice list of FAQs. This is going to be more on the photography scholarship. And then this will be a little bit more on other opportunities for teen students that are automatically applied generally, and then external scholarships as well. So scholarships that we don't run, but other institutions run, and a lot of our students have received and used before, and they kind of span a lot of different opportunities, which is great. I would also, a few things I want to say here, actually. I mentioned the full ride scholarship. You can see down here, the blog pulls in a lot of related blog posts, and this is going to be where we profile our regular full ride winners. I get a lot of questions on what sets an application apart for a full ride winner, and it's a great idea to read through these because you can see really what these students have done and what we've been able to highlight from their applications. So something to keep in mind, and it's a good point of reference. I also recommend, if you have 15 minutes, sit down and read this, like read the whole thing. That is going to give you the best overview and give you an actual understanding of how the process works. And we have the FAQs. And then if you want to look at dates and things like that, all of our deadlines are listed here. As you can see, they're adjusted for this year, obviously, because of COVID and everything happening. It's a little bit different, but our spring deadline is October 15th, and that's usually our full ride deadline, but we did adjust it for 2021. So you're going to want to usually base it off of the October 15th if you're thinking like later down the line, but always check in every once in a while and see when the deadline has been updated to, if it has been updated to. That covers pretty much all of it. Oh, here's the other thing. So it's apply online now button will take you right to the application. Take a look through the application. And this is, again, another tip I give students: copy down the questions into a Word document and work on it there. And then when you're ready to submit, you've got everything all together, and you may be able to use it for other scholarships that you're applying for. So those are just a couple of my tips. Feel free to unmute yourself, ask questions, pop them in the chat. Like Dan said, whatever works best for y'all.
I just have a question going off that scholarship thing. So with the deadlines, would you apply for the scholarships when you apply for the program, or would you wait until, like, let's say I was going to study abroad in like spring 2022, like would I wait to apply for the scholarship until that program was about to start?
Question.
So you'll apply, there's a few answers to this question. You'll apply for whatever, like if you were playing spring 2022, you couldn't apply now. You would have to apply for the spring 2022 deadline, which would be like next year. But with that in mind, you don't have to, you can apply for a scholarship before you apply for the program. So you have to wait until it's like the specific intake, but you can still do the application for the scholarship first. Does that answer your question? Great. Awesome. And if you guys have all had all your questions answered today, you are free to go. There's no need for you to stay, but if you have them, we'll be here for a little while.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you, Lily. I appreciate that.
Oh, let me stop the recording.
Okay.